We live in a culture that glorifies being busy, but here's the truth. If you don't take care of yourself, everything else suffers your health, your relationships, even your ability to succeed. Here's what I've learned: self care isn't selfish, it is actually the most powerful thing you can do for yourself and for the people who rely on you. Over the last 273 days, I've discovered that self care isn't a luxury, it's a responsibility. When you prioritize your well being, you show up better in every aspect of your life. I committed to prioritizing my health, my happiness, and my peace of mind, and the results have been life changing. In this video, I'm sharing why self care matters, how to make a non negotiable part of your life, and the exact steps I took to turn it into a daily habit. So let's dive in. Let me tell you why self care is so important, because for a long time, I didn't understand it myself. I used to think self care was optional, something I would do if there was extra time. But if you don't make yourself a priority, no one else will. I've had to learn this the hard way. I was constantly busy, always taking care of others, chasing other people's goals, and putting out fires. On the other side, I looked like I had it all together, but on the inside, I was exhausted, mentally, physically, and emotionally. I felt like I was running on fumes, and it started to affect everything. My focus was slipping, my patience was wearing thin, and my motivation was nowhere to be found. I remember the first time I hit a wall, and I remember sitting there thinking, how did I get here? Why does everything feel so hard? That's when I realized I had been neglecting the most important relationship in my life, the one with myself. Self care isn't just about bubble baths or spa days. Though those things are nice, it is more about recognizing that you matter. It's about understanding that when you take care of your needs, your mind, your body, and your spirit, you show up better for everything else in your life. When I started prioritizing my self care, I definitely noticed an immediate change. My energy levels improved and I felt more focused and in control of my life. The biggest shift was in my mindset, though. I stopped seeing self care as selfish and started seeing it as necessary. And let's not forget about the ripple effect. When you invest in yourself, it positively impacts the people around you. I noticed I was more patient and present with my loved ones. I can handle stress without shutting down. It's like I was finally showing up as the best version of myself, not just for me, but for everyone who counts on me. So here's why this matters so much. We live in a world that glorifies being busy, but being busy doesn't mean you're thriving. When you're constantly running on empty, something always suffers. Your health, your relationships, your dreams, they all take a back seat. But when you commit to self care, you're giving yourself permission to thrive. So I want to ask you a question. What would your life look like if you made self care a priority? Imagine waking up with energy and clarity, handling challenges with grace, and feeling more connected to yourself and the people you love. That is what's possible when you decide to invest in your own well being. So once I realized how important self care was, the next question I had to ask myself was, how do I actually make it happen? I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy at first. My days were already packed, and the thought of adding anything more to my plate felt overwhelming. But what I was beginning to understand was this: self care doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to take hours. It's about small, intentional actions that add up over time. The first step for me was getting clear on my priorities. I also had to ask myself, what do I need to feel my best, physically, mentally, and emotionally? From there, I built my routine around these four key areas. Number one, I talk about this all the time, it's your physical health. This was my foundation. I started simple, drinking more water, making sure I move my body every day, and fueling myself with whole, nourishing foods. It will always feel challenging to stick with new changes in your life, but I reminded myself that these small actions were investments in my energy and longevity. For example, my wife and I swapped out fast food for easy, home cooked meals that made us feel better. It didn't aim for perfection. I just aimed to be consistent. Even a 15-minute walk became something I looked forward to because it was a moment to connect with myself, my wife, and just recharge. Number two is your mental clarity. I can't stress enough how much journaling helped me early on. I don't journal as much as I did when I was going through this process because they have mostly turned into phrases that I repeat to myself every day. But during the early stages of this journey, every morning I took 5 minutes to write down my thoughts, set intentions for the day, and remind myself of what I was grateful for. It gave me a sense of direction and helped me stay grounded when life was chaotic, and it most certainly was. I also learned to protect my mental space. That meant setting boundaries with my time and reducing unnecessary distractions. For example, I started putting my phone down and like on do not disturb during certain parts of the day so I could focus on what mattered the most. Number three is your emotional well-being. Taking care of my emotional health was a game changer. I started practicing gratitude daily, which shifted my entire perspective. Instead of focusing on what wasn't working, I made a habit of celebrating small wins and approaching the little things in life. I also made space for joy. Oh, joy. Whether it was listening to my favorite music, going for a hike, or laughing with loved ones, I realized these moments weren't just fun, they were necessary for my well being. Number four is your spiritual growth. I finally incorporated mindfulness and reflection into my routine. I started small with just 5 minutes of meditation a day that usually coincided with my daily exercise. It helped me feel more present and less reactive, especially during those stressful moments of my day. I also asked myself deeper questions like, am I living in alignment with my values? This reflection helped me make choices that felt true to who I am and who I want to be in my life. Building these habits will almost never be a straight path. There were days I slipped up, days I felt too tired or too busy, but reminded myself that self care isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself, even in small ways. One thing that helped me was reframing how I thought about self care. Instead of seeing it as something extra, I started seeing it as essential, as non negotiable as brushing my teeth or going to work. I also learned to let go of guilt. At first, taking time for myself felt selfish, but over time, I saw how much better I could show up for others when I was taking care of myself. It wasn't just about me, it was about creating a life where I could thrive and be the best person I could be in everything that I did. The best part about all this, once these habits became part of my routine, they stopped feeling like chores and started feeling like gifts I was giving myself every single day. Prioritizing self care can feel like a challenge, especially when life is busy and demanding. But if you don't intentionally make time for self care, life will fill that time with something else. The key is to approach it with purpose and commitment. When I started, I had to change my mindset. Self care wasn't just something that I fit in when I had free time, it became a priority for me. Think of it like an appointment you can't afford to miss. And here's how I made that shift happen and how you can too. Number one is to schedule it. First thing I did was put self care on my calendar. Just like you wouldn't cancel a meeting with your boss, I treated these appointments with myself as a non negotiable, whether it was 15 minutes to journal in the morning, or an hour for a workout, or even 10 minutes of meditation or self reflection. I blocked it out like it was sacred, like it was something I couldn't miss. You might think you don't have time, but trust me, you do. You want to start small, even 5 minutes can make a difference. The important part is showing up for yourself on a consistent basis. Number two is just start with the basics. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Focus on the basics first. For me, that meant asking, what's the one thing I can do today to take care of myself? Maybe it's drinking an extra glass of water, going to bed 30 minutes earlier, or taking a walk outside. These small acts build up over time. Think of self care as building blocks. Each habit you create becomes a foundation for the next one. The more you invest in yourself, the stronger you can become. Number three, learn to say no. One of the hardest but most important lessons I have learned is to say no. If you're constantly saying yes to everyone else, you'll have no energy left for yourself. It's okay to set boundaries. At first, you might feel a little guilty doing this. The thought that kept popping up in my head was, what if I let people down? But I realized that always putting others first, I was letting myself down. Now I ask, is this something I want to do, or am I doing it out of obligation? If it's not a true yes, it's a no for me. Number four, let go of perfection. I used to think self care had to be this perfect Instagram worthy routine, but real self care isn't about looking a certain way, it's about feeling good in your own skin. Days self care is an intense workout, other days it's taking a nap. What matters is listening to what you need in the moment. You need to be flexible, give yourself some grace. And remember, it's not about doing it perfectly, it's about doing it with intention. Number five, make it personal. Self care isn't one size fits all. What works for me might not work for you. That's why it's so important to find what fills your cup. For me, it's journaling, walking outdoors, spending quiet time reflecting. For you, it might be dancing, painting, or simply sitting in silence. Ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? What helps me recharge my batteries? Then make those things a regular part of your life. Looking back, I see how much life has changed simply by putting myself first in a healthy way. There was a time when I thought self care was just a luxury, but now I know it's a necessity. And the beautiful part is, prioritizing self care doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone around you. When I started showing up for myself, I became a better friend, a better partner, a better leader. I had more patience, more energy, and more joy to share with everyone else. That's the magic of self care. It doesn't just transform your life, it ripples out to everyone else that you touch. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's this: you are worth the time and effort. You deserve to feel your best, and when you make self care a priority, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. After 273 days, the changes I've experienced go far beyond what you can see on the surface. Sure, I've gained more energy, I feel healthier, and my mind is clear, but the real transformation is internal. I've learned to truly respect and care for myself in a way I never have before. There was a time when I thought self care was something I'd get to later, but now I realize it's the foundation for everything else. I used to think pushing through exhaustion was a badge of honor, but it was really a recipe for burnout. Now I listen to my body. If I need rest, I rest. If I feel stressed, I pause and reflect instead of ignoring it. And that has made me far more productive, not less. One of the most surprising shifts has been how I view challenges. In the past, every obstacle felt overwhelming. But through this journey, I've developed a sense of resilience. I know what I'm taking care of myself mentally, emotionally, and physically. I can face anything with confidence. Another powerful realization was how my relationships changed. By showing myself love and kindness, I've been able to show up more fully for the people I care about. I'm more patient, more present, and more empathetic because I'm not running on empty anymore. There was a moment that really brought this all home for me. A few weeks ago, someone close to me said, "You seem so different, calmer, happier, more yourself." And that's when it hit me. This isn't just about self care, it's about becoming the person I've always wanted to be. I want to be very clear with you guys. This wasn't an easy road, and it won't be for you either. There were days where I doubted myself and days I wanted to quit, but every small step forward built momentum. Each choice to prioritize myself, whether it was drinking more water, taking a walk, or just saying no to something that was draining, helped me create a life that I was proud of. Looking back on it now, I can see how far I've come, and I'm filled with gratitude, not just for results, but for the journey itself. Because self care isn't a destination, it's a way of living. And it's taught me that I'm worth the effort every single day, and so are you. Self care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. When you take care of yourself, you're better equipped to handle life's challenges, pursue your goals, and show up for the people who matter the most to you. If you're ready to start your own self care journey, here's what I want you to do: pick one habit, just one, that you can commit to today. It could be drinking more water, journaling, or taking 10 minutes to breathe and reflect. And if you want more tools to help you prioritize your well being, I want you to check out this video where I break down 7 personal growth lessons in 7 minutes. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.